All right, good evening. Go ahead and call our May 23rd, 2016 meeting to order at 7 p.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and thanks everyone for coming this evening. We will begin with approval of minutes from a regular meeting on May 9th, 2016. Are there any additions, omissions, or revisions?
I have none.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from May 9th.
I second.
And I approve. Moving on to the administrator's recommendations, Ms. Vogel.
Okay, first we have a motion to amend resolution number 16-28, a resolution authorizing all actions necessary to effect a governmental electricity aggregation program with opt-out provisions pursuant to ORC section 4928.20 and directing the Montgomery County Board of Elections to submit a ballot question with the electors. This resolution was approved at the last meeting on May 9th, and there was a mistake in the resolution. There was the date of November 3rd, 2015, so that has been amended. So we just need a motion for that change.
Mr. President, prior to moving on this matter, do we have to add an item to the agenda?
Yeah, we can go ahead and add that in. Do you have the resolution number?
All right. Well, this,
Yeah, we'll
I make a motion.
now
I make a motion to approve resolutions 16-28 as submitted.
Second.
All right, we'll just add. You're making a motion for the current resolution. I think Nick was asking about making sure you add on to the agenda item the resolution we discussed in executive session.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend the agenda as 16-31, and I just have the wrong one there.
And make that as item D.
Yeah, item D. Actually, I got the wrong. It's the resolution appointing the acting township administrator as, in fact, the township's permanent township administrator.
Okay, we'll add that item to the agenda then.
Right. Second.
All right, so what we just did is we added an item to the agenda, and now discussion on 1628, which is correcting the resolution from the last meeting. Discussion on that?
I have none. I already did the motion.
Yeah, go ahead, and if that's what you want to do.
Oh, yes.
Make a motion to.
I thought I did.
I'll second.
All right.
Yeah, I already made that motion.
We'll get there eventually. I voted against the initial resolution. I'm also voting against this. However, the resolution passes.
Okay, next we have a liquor permit for Spring Hill Suites by Marriott located at 3591 York Plaza Drive. This will be a new liquor permit for the new hotel that's currently under construction. So we have no objections. Just want to entertain to move forward.
And just need a motion from that?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion?
Do we actually need a motion, or we just need a motion if we object?
Really just a motion if you object and need a hearing, so.
Okay.
I see no reason.
Yeah, I think the board has no objections to the liquor permit.
Next, we have a motion to extend the contract for police protection services with Montgomery County Sheriff's Office for Acting Chief Deputy Rob Streck to continue to provide supervision of the police department through July 31st, 2016. Chief Streck's original contract went through May 31st, 2016, and now as we work through negotiations with the Sheriff's Office, we just anticipate at least another 2 months to get through that process. So July 31st should get us to that point.
Okay. Discussion on this.
I have none.
Obviously, it's my intention, it has been all along, that we continue with our own police department and thank the sheriff for his services. So it's my intention to vote against this.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve motion extending the contract with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office for Chief Deputy Streck services.
I second.
I vote against. The resolution passes.
All right. If you don't mind, I'll just, is this it? This is D, is it not?
Correct. When we added is D.
This is a motion, a resolution appointing Erica A. Vogel to the position of Township Administrator and abolishing the Assistant Township Administrator's position. I won't go through the details. However, I will give you the gist of what is included in this. We are appointing Erica to that position beginning June 1st, 2016. She will have a salary of $96,013.78. We will match her deferred comp on a one-to-one basis up to a maximum of $2,500 annually. She will have a cell phone allowance of $600, and that will include an automatically reoccurring contract, and she'll have provided vehicle, township vehicle, that she will use to and from work and on work-related matters.
Okay. Discussion.
And we're lowering the salary of the administrators considerably. The prior administrator's salary was $123,076.10. And taking into consideration some of the other salaries from not only neighboring communities in the Miami Valley, but also taking into consideration the salaries of comparable townships. One reason that I had an issue with the salary being at $123,000 is because we have townships that are similar in size across the state that are much lower than that. We have Madison Township in Butler County that's $62,000. We have Madison Township in Lake County that's $82,000. With that being said, we do have to remain competitive with administrator and city manager salaries in the Miami Valley. In our neighboring jurisdictions, City of Inglewood, city manager's salary is $140,000. Harrison Township is $130,600. Washington Township is $127,383. City of Vandalia is $120,000, and City of Union is the lowest, the nearest jurisdictions at $93,226. So, just to give you guys background on how we came up with the number for her salary.
Yeah, I mean, fact of the matter is that is the market for what it is, and we did our due diligence in making sure we're competitive with the market. This is part of a restructuring to save money overall in terms of what the administration's done. It's kind of continued the theme we've been working on for years. But most importantly, Erica has said she will step into the breach at a very difficult time for us and continue to lead this organization forward, and that's what I want to concentrate on, and I'm thankful for her service for that. So.
And importantly, we're going to be abolishing the position of Assistant Township Administrator due to the reshuffling of administrative duties.
All right, well, any further discussion? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Okay. Again, I thought I made, but I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 1631, a resolution appointing Erica A. Vogel to the position of Township Administrator effective June 1st, 2016.
I second.
And I approve. All right, moving on to informal business with the Police Department, Chief Streck.
I have no report.
The Fire Department, Chief Bailey.
I have no report.
Mr. Adams is ill and was unable to be with us tonight as the fiscal officer. Trustees, Mr. Flanagan.
I have nothing.
Mr. Brusky.
Well, yeah, I have one thing. It's no secret why everyone's here tonight. People have questions and concerns about the agreement that we've entered into with the Sheriff's Department. Before I get into the specifics of what we are doing with the Sheriff's Department, I want to address one thing. There were people that were making comments about they didn't like how it was done. So what I want to do for in the future is that we allow public discussion on items on the agenda before our meeting starts. I'd like to change our agendas. After the approval of the minutes, I'd like to have a time for public comment limited to items on the agenda, and I think we should have some limited time amount as well because, it could be, we do need to move the agenda along, but I think that people should have the opportunity to comment on items that are on the agenda.
I'm not ready to move forward on that. I mean, I don't mind discussing it in a workshop, but I'm not ready to discuss it.
Yeah,
my issue is that, again, as I've said before, we're a representative form of government. We make decisions on behalf of the citizens. And let's say, take Erica's decision tonight. That's something I would not want to just put out there for general random discussion. I think there might be issues that we want to allow, but I don't want to have every item on the agenda necessarily open for that.
Well, as the rules state, only items at the public hearing can be items on the agenda. And if Nick had not brought that up this evening, I most certainly would have, because I think the public needs to be heard. They're aware what the items are on the agenda. We should certainly solicit to and listen to their feedback to allow us to make appropriate decisions so we don't have what happened 2 weeks ago happen again. So I think it's an excellent move, and I agree with you, and I think we will instruct the administrator to move hearing of the public to be after the approval of the minutes and before administrator's recommendations for all meetings from here on out.
Yeah, and again, I think we need to, discuss the details in a workshop. I have prior experience where I used to be a councilman in the city of Amherst. We had that policy. Items on the agenda, public comment to items that are not on the agenda still come at the same time. Now, getting back to our partnership with the Sheriff's Office, I just want to spout the facts of what it is. We are going to have more officers patrolling the streets. Currently, there are 2 officers that patrol Butler Township every shift. Under the partnership with the Sheriff's Department, we will have 2 deputy sheriffs patrolling Butler Township streets every shift. In addition, we're going to have 3 additional community-oriented policing deputies. They're shared with neighboring communities to cover the township. This is in addition to the 2 that are already covering our shifts, and it's at no additional cost. Butler Township police officers are going to be able to keep their jobs as deputy sheriffs while having the greater opportunity for professional advancement in a larger agency. There's more steps to where they can go for promotions. We're also going to save money under the partnership. Many people have talked about the initial savings that we're going to have at $27,000. Well, one of the things that this is doing is it's taking administrative duties regarding the hiring and firing and administration of the department out of our administrative offices. This is what has allowed us to eliminate the assistant administrator's position. That takes a significant amount of workload off of our administrators in our administrative division of the township. I don't think we would be able to eliminate that assistant administrator's position without making this move. And the assistant administrator's salary was $83,000 plus benefits. You're almost at $100,000 of savings a year. There were considerable amount of legal fees that were being spent. Those we will not occur under the contract with the Sheriff's Department. The other thing is that we are not giving away control of our policing to the county. We're going to retain ownership through the agreement that we have with the Sheriff's Department. That agreement is governed by the trustees, it's governed by the administrator, and with input from the community. The Sheriff's Office will manage the partnership with a captain who will report directly to the township administrator. And again, we've got the community-oriented policing deputies, and they're going to be able to work directly in our neighborhoods to deal with the neighborhood issues. So again, that's the end of my report, and I just wanted to get those facts out there.
Okay, I've got a few things. I've got a few things to add into that. Number one, I disagree that the elimination of the assistant administrator positions because we're contracting out the sheriff's office. I think that's totally incorrect. And secondly, to talk about spending legal fees, are we blaming the police union then for why we had legal fees? I'm not quite sure where that direction is going either. Go ahead and come up for me. The issue at hand right now, which actually that was the most probably information, that was more information we probably had 2 weeks ago. So I'm glad that unfortunately it was after the fact. The issue at hand is, and I've got a little visual aid here because I believe it's kind of smart to look at something to understand it better. This is not necessarily an easily understood issue by numbers being thrown around and proposals and everything else, and of course a lot of emotion. The issue at hand is what sort of police department do the residents of this community want, and how are we going to pay for it? So, as of right now, this is when we're fully staffed. That one's on, but that one is on. There we go. All right. So right now, when we are at full staffing, our officers work 12-hour shifts. And that was a contractual agreement between the police union and the administration as a way of saving money. Currently, our budget stands at $1.9 million for the police department. 6 years ago, when I first took office, that budget was $1.8 million for 2 fewer officers. And over the last 6 years, we worked very hard internally and with the union to keep costs down. So when we are fully staffed, we have on the road 2 officers and a sergeant. All right. So the sheriff's office was kind enough to provide us with 3 different proposals. And as Chief Streck said, they didn't go in cheap because ultimately they're making a proposal they have to carry out. So they went about it realistically. if we were to do a true apples-to-apples comparison of what it would cost to have the sheriff's office come in and take over policing for Butler Township, the right arrow, please, it would be an increase of $114,500 a year. And that's simply because the sheriff's deputies are lucky to be paid more than our guys are. So an apples-to-apples comparison, in other words, what you get right now, what you get in the future, by contracting out, would cost more money. Next, please. And going back up, by the way, that would be 1 captain for us, 4.5 sergeants, 2 detectives, and 8 deputies. I'm sorry, 9, thank you. I can't add very well. All right, Proposal 2. Proposal 2 is a hybrid. Harrison Township, as we all know, contracts out for the sheriff's office for police services. This proposal involved sharing the captain's position, which would basically be the chief. And instead of simply overseeing Butler Township, they would also oversee Harrison Township, and then we would still be provided with our sergeants, detectives, and deputies. Right here. And that'd be an increase of $46,297 a year. Finally, Proposal 3. And this is what the board had voted at the last meeting. This would then share all supervision with Harrison Township. Yes, we would be assigned 9 deputies to the township, 2 detectives, the 3 cop deputies, which essentially work in tandem to target hot spots across both communities, and also a shared administrative assistant. So that would then save the township $27,000. And then, right arrow again, and save Harrison Township almost $500,000. So in essence, the board's decision at the last meeting is reducing the amount of policing for our township and subsidizing Harrison Township, which is why I voted against it. I've never seen an issue come forward this is this important to the community. This is not the first time this room has been filled up. I'm sure I'll be blamed for it. Some others, Mike's friends are here. Not the case at all. I see a lot of faces I've never seen before. But we all live together. We all share a common community. And everyone obviously is upset about what's going on. You know, at the last meeting, we got the proposals as of Thursday or Friday. The meeting was on a Monday. We talked about it for about 30 minutes probably total. Not total discussion, not involving people's feedbacks. I know for sure that when Joe came in, he had a counting tape on his binder because he had motioned to you at it. And then after 30 minutes of discussion, made a resolution for a number of $8 million some to include the 5 years of the police contract. But there's no $8 million total at all. I mean, obviously it was added up manually. You didn't question it. I mean, how many times did you guys talk about this before the decision was made, because you were lockstep with Joe in making the decision?
I did not speak with him about it.
You didn't talk to him about it at all?
No.
All right. This is not only a policy decision on policing, it's an operational decision, which goes towards the effectiveness of the policing. This is not about the excellent quality provided by the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. They're a fantastic organization. They have fantastic people. I consider my friends as a cop myself. But this is about what we want for ourselves here in the township. We know the sheriff promised our guys jobs, but even Chief Struck couldn't guarantee at the last meeting that was going to happen. And thankfully, since then, they are able to hire our personnel. But shouldn't that have been a decision worked out ahead of time?
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, I'm not done yet, Joe.
No. Wait, Mike. Didn't the sheriff come out here in January, right after we announced we were moving to this position, and he said every one of our guys would have jobs. All they had to do is pass the background test.
Yeah. And Chief Struck was going to be free in the first place, too, and that didn't happen. So Chief Struck 2 weeks ago.
So what you're saying is the county sheriff is lying.
No, not at all.
The hell you're not.
Not at all. It was his intention to do it completely, but Chief Struck couldn't guarantee it at the last meeting.
There's a little bit difference of when somebody misspeaks because they're not sure what the county, what the state law says regarding whether you can give somebody your chief deputy or whether they have to pay for him. It's a different story when the sheriff of the county tells all of your police officers that they're going to have jobs. That's fully within his purview to do. You knew it, and you went on TV and you said there was some uncertainty as whether or not all of our officers would be put into deputy uniforms. And the fact of the matter is, the chief deputy then had, through the authorization of the sheriff, write a memo, once again assuring them they would all have jobs. All they had to do was pass the background test. They had to do none of the other tests, none of the other requirements to be a deputy sheriff.
Chief Streck at the last meeting could not guarantee that.
No,
that is
not
my
what he
contention.
said.
Period.
That's
And you
not
know
what
what?
he
If
said.
there was a question of it, we should have waited, but that didn't happen. All right?
I don't believe that was
so
the question.
You've made your
The
point.
question was about the about the sergeants, and the question was about the dog, if I recall. Not about.
Question, we can go back and watch the video. The question was overall. All right?
Well,
Secondly,
it is resolved now, is it?
and I acknowledge that as well. My point is being, though, if there are questions of ambiguity, they're best worked out ahead of time. We talk about
questions of ambiguity, Mike.
Obviously not. Secondly, from an operational standpoint, we're looking at two different communication centers. And I know that Harrison Township is looking to leave the regional dispatch center to go to Huber Heights as cost savings. Where right now we're dispatched by Huber Heights. But if we're going to share supervision, obviously for effective supervision, they need to be on the same radio channel. But that's not been worked out yet. Although the intentions may be to move. All I'm trying to say is this is a big decision. Once this is made, there's no going back. There's no saying, let's bring back the PD. Well, it's going to cost more money. So we have to have a community discussion. Everyone is concerned about it. It needs the time to have the questions answered. That didn't happen. That is my contention. So it can still be changed. I have a feeling it won't be. I feel it's unfortunate. We'll see what happens from here.
All right, and if you don't mind, while we have the screen up, let's look at the staffing we have up there right now. Take those two sergeants, take them out. They've been gone. One is going to be gone permanently. The other one is on sick leave right now. Take one of the officers out, move him out. He's out till January. He's been put on deployed. I'm sorry. So basically, what you're looking at is a reduced staff that we always seem to run on. We have run on this for years. We almost invariably never run full staff. We have officers working 12-hour shifts that are forced then to work additional 12-hour shifts overtime. We have people that are very tired. What we're trying to do is something relatively simple if you take all of this noise away. We're trying to provide the people of Butler Township the highest quality of service, and I don't mean by comparing our officers with deputies. I'm talking about the highest quality of service as far as having people out on the street, people that are able to respond to your calls and issues that happen within the township. Once a deputy is off work for any reason, for 14 days or more, he gets replaced. There's no more of this spending months or a year while somebody's deployed trying to fill that person's slot with overtime. It's just, the way it is. The fact is, it's easier to do in a large department. In a small department, it's very difficult to have people off and be trying to fill those slots all the time. That's all this is about, though. It is about providing service.
And finally, and I won't say any more, we can move on with our meeting. My reasoning behind doing this is because I want to reduce the cost of government for the long term. I chose to live in a township because it's very cost effective. If I wanted to live in a city and pay city income tax, I would live in a city. This ensures the long-term viability of us being a township. There are many demands on township governments. If you allow me to finish, to be able to afford a department that can provide this service in the long term is going to be more and more difficult. I think the initial savings that we're going to see, again, I think $26,944 is very misleading based upon the further savings that we get from the sharing of services, from the sharing of administrative services, from the sharing of sergeants. It's going to be a long-term effect. It's going to help the viability of our township for many years to come. I think we're going to see greater savings as we go further on down the road. And quite frankly, there was a police levy back in 2012 that had failed. We had a JED Z that was passed that has not brought the money in that was estimated on bringing it in. And to be quite honest, I want to bring forward a solution before I come to you guys and raise taxes. In addition to the levies, the history with the levies in Butler Township, we had 4 school levies that failed before one finally passed. I think people in this community want to see their government be able to provide services at a low cost before we come and ask for more money. And that's what I'm proposing here. And that's why I support this. That's my sole motivation behind this.
If this would have withstood the scrutiny of the light of day, we would have had a meeting with this many people in it before the decision had been made. And that did not happen. And that's a travesty, period. This does not solve our long-term budget woes. We know that $400,000 is transferred out of the general fund to the police fund, as it has always done, to support the operation. The general fund cannot continue to do that. So the question now is, no matter if it's the sheriff's office or a police department, who's going to vote for a tax levy? What kind of police department do you want to represent you? So,
this may not solve our budget issues. You're right, but it is going to solve our service delivery police issue problem that we've had and that we're going to have into the future. It does do that.
And I've heard no complaints about our police services from anyone in the community. And furthermore, after the chaos of the last 6 months, how hard do you think it's going to be to get good people to want to come work here right now until we have a clear path to the future? And that's what I invoked last meeting by having Chris Guthrie take over the chief's position, not filling the lieutenant's position, and moving forward the clear plan for our local police department.
Well, if we didn't need a lieutenant, why do we have a lieutenant, Mike?
Because at the time, it was the right decision to make. We were looking at succession planning and spreading out administrative decisions, got rid of an internal civilian, and put those on the lieutenant of another cop working during the day. But you weren't part of those conversations, I realized, Joe.
No, I was not. But you know what? I was just a clear citizen sitting outside watching what was going on. You had a sergeant, you had a lieutenant. That cost was what? How much was that? About $200,000 in additional expenditures for those 2 positions to come online? $200,000, Mike, when we were drowning in red ink. And you're telling me you're making good decisions? I don't think so.
Well, we can agree to disagree, Joe, because
no, we can't agree to disagree because I'm right about the money. All right. Oh, stop it. Grow up. Listen.
Okay. Order, please. Order.
Look at the budget. Look at the budget.
Okay. I've exhausted my time for my comments. Ms. Vogel for Administrator, Service Planning and Zoning.
Yeah, I just have a couple of items. The Budget Commission, they're going to be scheduled to meet the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of every month up until September in preparation for the 2017 budget. So June 8th will be the first meeting with the Budget Commission. They will be sworn in during that meeting. Also, we have open checkbook that we've been working on with the State Treasurer's Office. That is going to go live this week. So there will be a link on our website where you can go on, click on, and see all of the township expenditures online. We plan to update the website. We'll have all of 2015 up there to begin with, and I believe 14 and 13 as well, so you can compare the past budgets. And then we will be updating it quarterly. So 2016 first quarter will be on. Once we go live, we'll try to get that live as soon as possible, and then we'll be updating quarterly after that. And there is going to be a press conference, I believe, on Wednesday for for going live.
By the way, Eric, I have one more issue I have to bring up. Something I forgot. It's going to be a motion. It's going to be a motion to appoint Chief Alick to act as the Township Administrator in your absence while you're on vacation.
Okay.
I'll second.
And I will approve. Do you have the dates for that, too?
Yeah, the dates will be May 31st through June 6th.
Great. Okay. Anything else?
That is all I have. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to the hearing of the public. I know there's a lot of people here tonight. If you have something to say to address the board, I ask you, number one, everyone gets one shot at it. You'll try to limit time to 5 minutes so that we're not here till tomorrow morning. And also, when you take the podium, to please give your name and address before you address the board. So, anyone is up to you.
Good evening. My name is Keith Nisley. I live in Stillwater Woods in Butler Township. I never imagined that in Butler Township I'd have to come to one of these meetings and offer my thoughts. I always had enjoyed the idea that those who we elect would perform their duties in a caring and thoughtful manner. Unfortunately, in my opinion, power and revenge have taken over. Mr. Brusky's words and actions seem paradoxical. I'll read a paragraph of his blog located on WordPress. One of the most overlooked benefits of township and smaller jurisdictions in general is the accessibility factor. As a Butler Township trustee, I only have to answer to 7,894 people. By representing a smaller amount of people, I can interact with a greater proportion of my constituents than an elected official would in a regional mega government. When residents show up at our meetings, we listen. People who live in smaller jurisdictions have more political clout. Eliminate this decentralization, and what was once a citizen becomes a mere number. Now to get to my main point. Never in my time in this area have I ever seen so many meetings where there has been such a large turnout for multiple meetings. Sure, there has been an occasional zoning issue or two, but never have I seen this many people here disgraced and offended at the actions of the Board of Trustees. Mr. Brusky states that he listens when residents show up at meetings. Well, so far in the last few months, if you are truly listening, your actions are showing that you simply must be ignoring us. I have heard the comments from some of the officials that the crowd here only represents a small segment of the overall township. My response would be that this is a representative segment of the population who have actually been paying full attention to your actions. The idea of subcontracting out policing to the sheriff's office certainly seems to be counterproductive and goes against the idea of us having more political clout. We are now transferring our policing to an elected official who answers to over 500,000 people, or approximately 67 times more people than what makes up Butler Township. 67 times more. Now, via phone calls to residents I've spoken to, Flanagan and Brusky have both called them back and have allegedly offered up confusing and non-similar numbers and statistics. After a cursory review here, some pitfalls we may be facing. First, our future cost increases. We have no control over future costs. The Sheriff's Deputies Union one day will argue for higher pay raises. An arbitrator will look at the sheriff's ability to pay, not Butler Township's ability to pay. This could force us to pay higher rates than what we may be able to afford. Such significant price increases are demonstrated and can be seen with the exits of the City of Riverside, Butler Township Police, New Lebanon Police and Fire, Jackson Township Police, Farmersville Fire, and the City of Brookville, all from the Sheriff's Dispatch because the rates went up, and all within the last few years. Second, potential labor liabilities exist due to subcontracting services. Understanding that subcontracting is covered in both existing labor agreements and is subject to a grievance procedure, failing to address these issues could result in unfair labor practices, also known as ULP. Let me remind all of you, Mr. Flanagan knows the damage a ULP can bring, as he was part of the administration that caused the township to have an administrative law judge rule against the township, resulting in legal fees and back pay to the tune of nearly $1 million. Third, span of control. Sharing supervisors with Harrison Township will cause less availability for supervision, or at least delays in such supervision. A supervisor may have to drive over 13 minutes from Catalpa Drive to Gary Ann Drive. The issue of Butler Township policing Butler Township is the simple issue at hand. I want my policing concerns to be responded to in the same spirit that Brusky talks about in his blog post. I want more political clout with my police force. Saving about $27,000, unfortunately, is not that great of a savings. I believe we pay about half of that for Mr. Brusky's township-provided health care. Mr. Flanagan spent nearly that for his campaign to hold this office. Unfortunately, and strictly as my opinion, I believe that this change to contract policing out to another agency is simply part of a new overall theme: greed, paybacks, and revenge. I certainly hope Mr. Brusky proves us all to be cynics tonight. How on earth could the guy with hand-painted election signs possibly have been bought by corporate motives? Please, Mr. Brusky, end this tonight. Prove that you really do listen to your electors and support us moving forward with our police department.
You know, I'm going to address one. I'm going to address one area of your comments. At the same time we had our meeting going on 2 weeks ago, there was a meeting over on the west side of Dayton about doing consolidated county government. If we do not take steps to control our costs through innovative means, which one of those innovative means is contracting our services with the Sheriff's Department, then we could possibly see nothing in return. If we don't get a handle on how we govern ourselves in the township and do it in a more innovative manner to control costs, you know, what happens if a regional plan of government? Thankfully, the city of Dayton annexed land in Greene County, but you know, the regionalization issue is not going away. I'm sure it's going to be addressed at the state, and you know, by dealing with these matters and trying to provide the same level of service at a lower cost, you know, we're going to have to take these measures in the future. This is what's coming forward in the township.
Good, sir.
My name is Albert Hollis, and I live on Dogleg Road. I listen to all this stuff that's going on. Why don't they let us vote on it? Why are they trying to run it through without the public's say-so? Can you give me an answer there?
Yes, because most of the things we do in a representative form of government is not done through the ballot. The fact of the matter, no, hold on.
You're not balanced because you got 2 against 1. We need 5 people on this committee. The next thing is, why don't you tell us the truth that the problem you got is Miller Lane?
No, the problem is not Miller Lane.
We didn't have these kind of problems before. All of a sudden, the police department is down there all the time when they should be out in the township, and what you're trying to do is cover the whole daggone thing up.
That's simply not true.
Out there where I'm at, right now they just stuck signs up on Old Springfield that the trucks can't go down Old Springfield Road anymore. They got to go by my house, all of them. Where are you people at? Why aren't you taking a stand on some of this stuff? The northern end up here is just being run right over. And you're not doing a thing about it. You all live west of or south of Little York. And to heck with the northern end. Give me an answer.
I don't believe there is an answer.
You don't have an answer.
No, I do not have an answer.
Because they're all down here at Miller Lane.
Well, that's simply not true. I can repeat it over and over again, but it's simply not true.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. You guys don't know what's going on in the northern end. You're all worried about Miller Lane. You got a big problem there. When you guys thought that was the greatest thing in the world when they started building in there, and now you got all these nutheads running around down there that we got to protect. Give me an answer.
So what you're saying is you need more police up there. Just asking the question.
The problem is you got the police down at Miller's Lane.
You can keep repeating that, but that's simply not true.
You took that thing on down there, and now you've got
listen, I'm not going to repeat it again. That's simply not true. If you want us to give you some data, we can give you some data. The fact of the matter is there is crime down on Miller Lane. It's a highly commercial area. It's going to happen. The fact is, though, we do not have all of our cars down patrolling Miller Lane.
Well, another thing is I think we need 5 people on this board.
And I agree with you.
Because you two vote against him. He's outnumbered on about anything that he wants to do. Or what you want to do. So you've got control.
So if we voted with him, that would be okay.
You two are in cahoots with Miller Lane.
Anyone else?
Janet Wood with Red Roof Inns. I've been there over 20 years. Red Roof Inn has actually been there over 40 years. And although we do require more services, we bring in the revenues to support those services. My question, I have three and I'll try to keep it brief. The information I received was a little confusing. This less than 2% savings, does it also achieve the Sheriff's Department doing the evidence work, the property room records, uniform supplies, public records, contract negotiation, union business, hiring, firing, disciplinary actions, complaint investigations, and responsible for full staff levels?
Yes.
Okay, so each one of these proposals includes all of those things.
Yes.
My second question is, have you shared this information with the Board of Directors for the zone? Have you shared this information and this proposal with the Board of Directors of the zone? That's in the JED Z, the Board of Directors for the zone of the JED Z. Well, they... Oh, well, yes, they are. They're involved directly with supporting the businesses on Miller Lane, and the money that's taken in is supposed to be spent on those issues. The Board of Directors, according to the actual contract that you have, the Board of Directors controls the monies that are spent, that are taken in. And they, although agree that you have been the best people to take care of those 75% of the funds, they have a right to decide how it best serves that zone. Why wouldn't you bring them in on this major decision that directly affects the zone? And the money that's brought in, right.
Right now, the money, 100% of it goes to fund the police department. All the money from the JED Z goes to the police department.
Right, but they have to approve all of that. That money flows through them.
It just, from the beginning of the JED Z, it was said that we would put that money directly to the police department fund, and it's always been that way.
That doesn't mean the Board of Directors doesn't have the right and the option to change it. Those 6 people, they can vote on how that money is being spent if it's not being spent appropriately. This police department, and I would have no idea which direction is the best to go. I have no skill set of understanding the police protection. I know we've had great services from Montgomery County. We've had excellent services from Butler Township. My concern is this is moving so fast, we haven't had the appropriate time to look at all of the things that go with it to know that this is the right move. And this Board of Directors does get a say on where this money is spent. So why wouldn't you have this discussion with them and bring them in on it?
Basically, this is a policy and a political move of the Board of Township Trustees, not the JED Z Board.
Well,
they would have no input into this.
do you plan on using their money?
We are using their money.
Okay, well then they have a right to vote to go in a different direction with that money. It's within this contract that they have that right, that they're the ones that disperse the funds, although they have agreed and have the right to give it to you to do with what you will. We've always had confidence in Butler Township, but this Board of Directors has the right to change how they disperse these funds within this guideline that you have filed. So don't you think it appropriate you take a minute to have a discussion with the Board of Directors to see if this is...
I don't know.
So you don't think that you owe them due diligence with the money they're collecting for you?
No, I don't.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
There's a small percentage that stays within the board, the zone, for maintenance, for different things.
Oh, they have control over it. According to the document, they have control over the money.
Yes, and the board has always agreed that that money would go to the police department.
Correct, but if you disband the police department...
It will still go to the police department fund.
Assuming the board agrees, because the board has the ability to disagree. So since you don't feel the board should have anything to say in this, maybe then my next question, and it would be my final question, who are the 6 board members?
Julie Trick, John Crucy, Mike Lang, myself. Am I missing anybody?
There are 6.
Who am I missing?
Mark? I'm not sure.
No. Mark.
It's an interesting question, though. Yeah, because you're a stakeholder. In fact, I just saw a news clip with you from 2003 when Carl Bush was here about the hotel-motel trespass problem, and you obviously have a vested concern on what happens.
We want it to be a safe community. I
Absolutely.
love working in Butler Township, always have. I've been here 20 years, worked here. I've had a great relationship with the police, the township, and again, I really don't have a side at this point. I don't know enough about it to make an intelligent decision, but I want to have enough information to know which side of it I stand on. And as a business person, I guess my first step is to go to this board and say, what do you think? I have to ask somebody who is more trained in this type of negotiation to know where I come out at on this decision. So
I'm sorry, the last person would have been Kim Lipinski. Her position hasn't been refilled yet. So it would have been, I was on the board, and then Kim was on the board, so that position has not been filled.
So we only have 5 people on the
Yes,
board at this time?
right now.
Okay, because that's outside the bylaws.
Yes.
And that's been over 6.
We talked about at the last meeting that we would wait to refill it until the position was filled.
Okay, then I will make that request to get the board meetings, the meetings for the minutes of the board of the zone.
Great.
And then contact them directly, because I find it a little unusual that you wouldn't want to know the opinion of the business community of Butler Township.
Oh, I have no problem with the business community's opinion. I just don't think the JED board is the appropriate avenue for that.
Well, that's where we put our money.
Well, in case you haven't caught it, that most of the people on the JED board are people that actually serve the township. I mean,
Yes, 3 are to be appointed by the township, 3 are to be appointed by the city commission.
Staff or elected officials. I mean, Julie Trick is, I believe, the only one outside of the actual township itself that is a board member.
Well, again,
Well, I think we'll look into it. I know I will.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
No, certainly.
Good evening. My name is Tim Thomas on Jackson Road. I appreciate what you said about taking our time to consider what we want to do with our police department. $25,000 is really not that much money to make a snap decision on. And if I could just ask right now, is there any citizen who does not want our township police department? Does everybody wants the sheriff's department? Okay. My question was, who wants to get rid of our police department for Butler Township? And who wants to have the sheriff's department come in? Well, let me rephrase this. Does anybody want to get rid of our police department that we have currently? No.
And I think you made your point.
My name is James Holman. I'm a business operator here. And I just wrote a huge check to Butler Township for taxes, like I do every month. And part of that taxes go toward our police services. And we appreciate that. So when I write that check, I don't feel so bad about it because of those officers. And I want to keep our officers. They do a good job. And once that bell is rung and we go to the sheriff's office, you can't unring that bell. It's done. And that $26,000 savings that you're talking about today could be gone in a snap of a finger. And at some point in time, that sheriff may decide, well, wait a minute, our cost has risen. And now you have to sit here and you got to talk to these people and speak to us about how you're going to justify that increase that the sheriff wants. Because once they're gone, it's a done deal. quite frankly, I think that the whole deal should be scrapped and tabled until there's a solid definition, a promise that these officers will stay. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes. I'm not talking about a background check. I'm talking about nothing. If they're good enough for us, then they're good enough for the sheriff's office. No background check, no nothing. Those officers deserve to work for us, then they can work for the sheriff's office. Because I'm thinking, what I'm saying is, a background check could be anything. One of you guys could have wrote a reprimand to this officer that he was unjust. And that may be just enough to disqualify him from becoming a deputy sheriff. But we like this guy. He does a good job for us. And I think he will be treated unfairly and unjustly because one of you, my individuals, may have written a little something in his personnel file that made him disqualified from the sheriff's office. So the whole deal should be scrapped and tabled until there's concrete signage that every single one of these guys get to keep their spot. If they're good enough for us, they should be good enough for them.
Well, and that's a very good point, I have to admit. The issue here is that if one of our officers cannot pass a background check, he should not be one of our officers, period.
So it should be
This is not like a credit check. This is a background check.
Take it off the table. We want zero.
No, it's not going to happen. They pass a background check.
It can happen. It can happen.
Okay.
Because
I'm not
we're in the driver's seat.
It's not going to happen.
It should happen because they belong to us. And we decided they're good enough for us. They should be good enough for them. Because I know it's just that simple. Anything, a background check could be anything. Anything. Then they, disqualify them. Now that guy's gone. Now his career's got to start all over again. He was good enough for Butler. He's good enough for the sheriff's office. And I think that's a very simple ask for you guys to say, no, we're going to table this discussion until you give us concrete that those guys will be deputies.
Let me just make it clear, I can assure you that that is not going to happen. If they were going to pass a background check, every other thing in the hiring process has been waived by the Montgomery County Sheriff. Again, if an officer cannot pass a background check, he should not be employed here.
Like I said, a background check could be anything. They're officers already. And if someone puts something in their personnel file, a reprimand for something, he's not fired from here. He's still going to be here. But the sheriff may say, well, that reprimand we don't like. And it disqualifies him. Something that simple. We're not talking about a DUI. We're talking about some administrative action that was acceptable to this panel. Well, okay, we're going to reprimand you, but you can remain your position as an officer. Well, the sheriff may say, well, we don't want you. Something that simple. It don't have to be anything major. It could be something that simple to disqualify either one of those officers. And if it's that important to you and you think that the residents of Butler Township want it and you're speaking for the residents of Butler Township, then put it to the vote. Thank you.
Sir, can you tell me your name again,
My name
please?
is James Holman. I'm the business operator.
What was your last name?
Holman, H-O-L-M-A-N.
Okay, and I think on the background check, I mean, we're talking about anything criminal that may have happened since they've been employed here that we might not be aware of. So the sheriff's office just has to do their due diligence and make sure that there's nothing in their background or in
So
their...
you're telling me you haven't done your due diligence and you haven't done that? You don't know that information?
No, I'm saying if
just
it
said
happened outside of the county or the state that we don't know
but you
about.
know, you can check the information on your cell phone. You can check it on your cell phone. It's not something you don't know. If there's anything you need to know about this officer's background, it takes you 5 minutes to pull up on it. And if you don't know how, I can show you how. It's that simple. So let's not go there. Let's not say there's something that you don't know. You do know. You do know. And it's unfair to these officers because you're putting their back against the wall. They have lives. They have homes and families to take care of. And now they're sitting on a hot seat because there's some elected officials that feel that, well, we want to do something for that and forget about him. What about his job? What about all the years of service he's provided? We don't care about that no more.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Second.
Yeah, you're good. Thanks. Hit the mark.
Good evening. My name is Jack Woods, and I live on Crest Ridge Drive in Butler Township. And my appeal to you is more on a rational level. If you look at the budget that we're approving for 4 years with the Sheriff's Department, it's approximately $2 million a year. Do we currently have that much money coming in under the police levy to fund it? I think I've heard we're $400,000 a year short.
The answer is no.
Okay. So we're going to approve as a township a budget for 4 years that we can't pay for as a township. That could definitely affect the rest of our township income because we can't afford to pay the Sheriff's Department, so we may have to cut other areas of our budget just to pay them. We'll have no control over cost reductions or anything of that type, but we're just going to come up with that $400,000 imaginatively. Secondly, you're committing to a 4-year budget before our budget commission or our finance committee starts in 2 weeks. How is the finance committee going to reduce costs in the police department if you guys have committed to a 4-year budget at $400,000 more than we bring in? You're tying their hands right behind their back, not giving them a chance to do what you wanted them to do. You're the one that brought it up. We need a finance committee here to look at how we're spending our money. And then you want to go spend the money before you get our finance committee their first meeting. And lastly, we know that even after the Finance Committee gets its work done, we'll probably have to have a police levy of some magnitude. Do you think that you pushing the Sheriff's Department in as our police department is going to help fund or get pass a police levy? Do you think the people are going to be receptive to that thought? How about putting this on the ballot in November? Do you guys want the Sheriff's Department or do you want the township? And if they vote for the Sheriff's Department, I bet they will vote for a levy. If they vote for the Township Police Department, I bet they will vote for a levy to fund them.
Well, they haven't voted for a levy in a long time.
I understand about you're throwing
And this is our
you're
own
throwing
police
the
department.
Sheriff's Department.
They've never shown support for the police department in the past by approving levies.
Well, I think
they may
people
say
out here.
it may be that it's easy to give verbal support. It's easy to say you want your own police department.
What's the hurry?
There isn't any hurry. We've been talking about this since January. This is not
6
something.
months. That's not a lot of time.
It is a lot of time for us. The fact is, we are having problems putting officers on the street. We're having problems of keeping a full cadre of people available to serve the residents of the township. That is what this is about. You want to move it to an emotional issue? Fine.
Residents about the service? I don't think that's a problem right now. I think we need to take our time and we need to work through this. We need to ask the people what they want. Maybe you'll end up with your Sheriff's Department. I don't know.
When we put a levy on the ballot, one of the things we tell residents, and this is a problem that we have not done, we put a levy on the ballot and we say, through the ballot, you tell us what level of service you want. For years and years now, the residents of this township have said, we do not want to pay the full bill for our police department. We have been able, for a number of years, to be able to subsidize the police department out of the general fund. That is running out.
But how
what we should have done, and it's what the board should have done, not this board, we can go way back on this. The board should have made significant reductions.
Water under the bridge. We can't correct that. But what we can.
No, I'm just telling you that the board of trustees some time ago should have started making reductions in the police department to show people. Again, this is what a township is all about. When you don't want to talk about grassroots and what the township is all about, it is the board comes to the residents and says, this is what it takes to operate this particular unit of government, police, fire, roads, whatever it is. We put the levy on and say, is this the level of service you want?
All I'm saying is if you give the township a vote and who addresses their police force.
This is not a popularity decision. This is a business decision, and we have made the business decision.
If you will let
That's something I'm responding to you.
No, I wasn't finished. You jumped in. If you let them vote on who's going to be their police department, then I think they will be more receptive to that levy on the ballot. That is my opinion, and I think everyone else will agree out here. They will be more receptive. Thank you.
My name is Tori Elric. I reside at 8450 Meeker Road. I attended the meeting here this evening to beat basically a dead horse once again. I attended the April 25th meeting, I believe it was, requested a guardrail be put in front of my house, provided 4 police reports where there have been wrecks since we've moved into this house. It's on a sharp turn. Just to give you guys a little bit of the backstory. I was told, as well as in the meeting minutes, which is posted online, there would be some sort of follow-up, which never happened. So I'm coming here again, kind of re-proposing the same exact thing within the past month, or within the past week, sorry.
It should be installed anytime. They've already looked at it. The engineer's office has looked at it. They looked at 2 things. They looked at your property, and then they also looked at, I think Trustee Bresky asked to look at the cliff, look up the side of the road. That was not justified to put a guardrail in, but no doubt we're putting a guardrail in on your property. So that's being taken care of.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name's John Ellis. I live on Woodville Drive in Imperial Hills. The first thing that I want to address, Mr. Flanagan, within this last hour, you made some general comment about above all the noise, or if we could rise above all the noise. I've lived in this area for 30 years. I've paid my taxes. I really don't think that we appreciate the citizens' comments being referred to as noise. So I wanted to get that off my chest first, because I was highly offended by it.
If you don't mind. It's a common saying, and it's not
Yes, it
saying
is,
about.
but I was offended by it,
If you don't
sir.
mind, if you don't mind, it's not talking about them, a specific noise. It's talking about the noise of something that happens. Sometimes, because of all the chatter that goes on, you have to raise above that to be able to have a sensible discussion.
I understand. I just want to let you know that I was offended by it. A couple procedural questions. I think it would be nice if in the future the draft of the minutes might perhaps be shown on the website, because I know there were a lot of people here who weren't here last week, and you folks approved of the minutes. They have no idea what happened. So now the minutes will appear within the next couple days, but it'd be very helpful if the minutes had appeared. Second procedural thing, this is now the 2nd consecutive meeting when you folks have made a motion on something that wasn't on the agenda, and you approved it with 0 comment from the public. And you mentioned, Nick, something about having some comment from the public, but 2 weeks ago it was abolishing the police department. Now you've abolished the assistant administrator with 0 comment from the public. It wasn't on the agenda, and you've gone ahead with it. So I just think that those procedural changes should be. To the topic at hand, one of the things that has been said is there was going to be this $27,000 cost savings from going with the Sheriff's Department. And I just wanted to point out that back in the January meeting, you mentioned that Acting Chief Streck's salary would be at no cost. This week I spoke with Ms. Vogel. She mentioned that he is now being paid $1,501 per week from the township. If you multiply that out times the 6 or 7 months, that's roughly $40,000. So that more than eats up the projected original cost savings. The other thing I wanted to mention, I'm a little bit tired about all this discussion about how we've never passed police levy in the last 10 years. One of the reasons, and I voted against it the last time, because the last time there was no taxation on the workers on Miller Lane. The last time, if I'm not mistaken, the police levy was up, it was before the Jed Z passed. And frankly, at that point, you had all these people that might have lived in Dayton or other areas who were paying city income tax that was going to other areas. And I frankly voted against it because why am I voting to increase my taxes to pay for the police department when our tax money being collected here in the township is going to other jurisdictions? If you folks had put a police levy on the ballot immediately after that Jed Z had passed, it would have passed. And that's never discussed, and frankly, I'm tired of you bringing up how the police levies have been turned down. So, I think that's about all that I have to say. And then the last thing is it's very, very difficult for us to kind of figure out projected savings. I know the sheriff's office, you gave us like 3 or 4 years projections. And frankly, I was stunned this week when, again, I called you, Ms. Vogel, and apparently there is no projected budget or no written budget for Butler Township for future years. So how can we possibly compare future year savings? It's stunning to me that here we're going on June of 2016, and apparently there is no budget for Butler Township for 2017. I know we've got a budget commission, but as one of the previous speakers says, it's stunning that we've just, thanks to you two, voted to spend $8 million when there is no budget for next year. Thank you.
Beth Cooper, 7649 Painted Turtle Drive. At the last meeting 2 weeks ago, when the decision about the police department was put forth, I popped off with, well, we're going to get a referendum, and we're going to have a petition, and we're going to overturn this. And initially, Mr. Flanagan, you said, yeah, you have that right, you can do that. And then there was some sidebar talk, and Daryl Wacker from the Vandalia Drummer had already done his research and had an official word saying that we really couldn't do that. And that is per Ohio Revised Code 504.14. Following that meeting, I spent the next few days on the phone with the Board of Elections in Dayton, and they did confirm that since we did not pass what's called limited home rule, which we turned down, I have figures somewhere, 64% of the township voted against it in November. So we turned home rule down, and so therefore we also kind of gave up the power to overturn decisions that we disagree with. It's confusing. I'm going to do my best to explain it. I might need a little bit of help, but I guess I'd also like to recognize that the guys at the Board of Elections, David Landum was his name, very helpful, really tried to help us out. But we're bound by the law. So let me give you a little bit of a timeline as I know it, and then I might ask for some help in understanding home rule. July 13th, 2015, our trustees, at that time it was Brusky, Lang, and Orange, unanimously voted to put home rule on the ballot for the fall. And what home rule means to us, and I'll say it the way I can find it online, and then we'll have some input. Home rule allows our trustees to address things like noise complaints and how to implement traffic and speed regulations and fine people for noxious weeds. I'd like to toss it to Mr. Brusky and Mr. Lang, and what else could home rule do to empower us at a township level?
Well, certainly you mentioned the one that it will allow you initiative and referendum. You know, there are many different things that we can do. Actually, there's no definitive end to what you can do. It's determined by case law as to where the limits for home rule end. So a township could implement an ordinance that's not expressly authorized by the Ohio Revised Code. They could implement an ordinance to create a local rule or ordinance resolution, and then the voters would have the ability to turn that down over a certain time period. It would not change the structure of the government. It would still, you would still have your 3 trustees, your fiscal officer. That would still remain intact. But as far as implementing local ordinances, there's no particular limit. In fact, that the actual code doesn't list things. The Ohio Township Association, and we've published a list of things that we could have done. And, you know, it's unfortunate that that didn't pass. I think it would have been good for the township. You know, one of my motivations for supporting it was we had issues with semi-truck traffic, and we still do to this day up in the northern part of the township. It would have been greatly helped by passing regulations of that matter. But
Mike, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, over 15,000 people, Board of Trustees can automatically invoke home rule, which is why Washington Township's home rule, Miami Township is. And effectively, it's a tool to let us deal with quality of life issues, things like Nick was talking about, noise issues, speed limits on township roads, weight limits on township roads. It also requires us to read through resolutions in multiple readings. So unless it was a unanimous decision by the board as an emergency, you would have to hear resolutions read multiple times. One negative to that was we'd have to actually take on a part-time law director, which is a fee, but you can also have somebody on retainer to meet that requirement of it. At the time we talked to the administrators and trustees from the other townships, it was an indispensable tool for them to carry out our urban sort of township ways. So absolutely.
Okay. And so when I would talk to my neighbors, the one side of the coin for home rule was there was more power given to our trustees. And that was what some people said, I'm not ready for that. But the flip side of the coin was, yes, we gave them more power through home rule, but we also retained power because we could go through a referendum and we could reverse a decision. So, well, the increase...
There is the ability to borrow
Yes.
more money. That was never our motivation for it, most certainly.
Right. In fact, on July 21st, 2015, in the Dayton Daily News, and what we're referencing here is if you pass home rule, you can increase your debt level from 5% assessed property value to 10%. Am I right about that?
Yes, that's correct.
This will be raised to 10%, and any debt in excess of 5.5% of assessed value will require a vote of the people. Where I took comfort with that was on July 21st in the Dayton Daily News. This is a quote from Nick Brusky. There is potential for the abuse of power. I think there's potential for the abuse of revenue with something like this. But I think the entire board is pretty clear that we're not going to abuse this. We're going to use this on a limited manner, and we're going to use it to the benefit of the residents. So that was addressed at the last time we put this on the ballot. Where I'm going with this, stick with me. We voted it down resoundingly. We didn't want it. And now I'm thinking maybe we might. And I've looked at the Ohio Revised Code 504.1A2, and all we need is a majority of our township trustees to vote on it, and we could have it back on the ballot, I believe, for November. So, Mr. Lang, would you vote for, would you move to put this back on the ballot?
Yeah, most certainly would.
Mr. Brusky?
Yes.
Well, that makes it easy. Mr. Flanagan? Okay.
And one thing I'm going to address about the bond limit, too, obviously, we are in no position to borrow more money, even though it allows us to borrow more money. But in the same capacity with your personal credit, if you have the ability to borrow more money, you don't necessarily have to use it. That improves your credit rating. Same here with home rule. That improves your bond rating. Many townships who've gone after that have seen an improved bond rating by going to home rule. And that's been talked about at the Ohio Township Association.
If you are willing to put home rule back onto the ballot in November, and obviously it's because the people here want that flip side of the coin where we could draw up a referendum and demand the reversal of a decision, I would request that you reverse your decision on the police department until we get to vote on home rule.
As I've mentioned, this is not a political decision. This is a business decision. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not willing to put this on the ballot for a political decision. At this point, as far as I'm concerned, the decision's been made, and we've moved to the transition phase of this. All of our officers have been given applications by the sheriff's office, and I fully intend to move forward with the transition. The other two can do what they want to do. I'm just telling you what my position is right now.
If you are approving that you are going to allow us to vote on home rule, and I'm fairly certain it will pass this November, then I ask you, please, wait on this police decision. We can't unring that bell. I loved whoever said that. This is irreparable damage. There is no reversing this. I'm asking you, please, wait on this decision until we have given you that vote in November.
Nick?
Let's bring up home rule at the next meeting.
Okay, well,
I'm not reversing my decision, but I do think home rule is a worthy thing that we need to do, and
We don't want you to move forward with the police decision until, as a township, we've had a way of voicing what we want heard.
I understand. I disagree with that. I've stated my reasons for why I support moving forward, but I do agree with you on home rule, and I think we should put that on the ballot.
Okay. Well, what home rule will do for us, and please, this room full of people, you have to understand what it is. It would force our trustees to truly have a dialogue with us and to educate us, okay? After the last meeting regarding the police department, I made an appointment with Chief Streck, and he was very patient with me and on getting me to understand terminology and the positions that were changing. But that educational piece was missing for this huge decision. And I think with home rule, they would be obligated to educate us and make us understand the issues better. So I don't know where we're going to go from there. I actually had petitions and everything ready to go for tonight. You really did make it easy on me. You have guaranteed that it will go up on the ballot for our township to vote on. Thank you.
anyone else?
My name is Larry Wing, Senior. I'm a business owner in the township and also live in the township. I personally do not have any problems with the police department currently, and I don't think anybody does, but $27,000 is a drop in the bucket. You could get it on a GoFundMe account and probably raise $100,000 in this community in probably a matter of a few weeks. I don't have anything personally against the sheriff's department. They do an excellent job. I think that if we go ahead and transfer our guys to their uniforms, are we guaranteed that we're going to have those same individuals that wear these uniforms, or will they be repositioned within other areas of the police force? Excuse me, the county sheriff's department. Because we would like to maintain some of the faces that we see. I've owned my business for 11 years. I've been in this area for about 6 years. Fortunately, I am 2 minutes. I'm actually right beside the administrative offices. I have had calls and I've had response. It has happened in 2 minutes. But December 14th at 5:54 a.m., my house was attempted to be broke into, and I live on Old Country Road, or Old Country Lane, and I had response. I'm going to guesstimate I had 4 officers there within 10 to 12 minutes. Everybody says, well, how can you have 4 officers there? We only have 2. It was shift change, and they wanted to make sure that everything was covered. I don't think we would get that with the sheriff's department. No offense. That's the local community reacting to the local things that go at hand. My concerns is we have empty buildings that the township owns, and we have some more. It looks like we're going to have another one unless, I don't know if Montgomery County is going to rent our facilities, or we need to maintain buildings for people that we don't have bodies to fill. Do we need a building that we just spent, don't quote me, $1.5 million, $2 million on rehabbing? Do we need that? Or do we downsize and we move into other facilities? That may save more than the $27,000. Personally, they came into my property and asked me to put in a 50-foot telephone pole. No problem, police department, that's great. They put in a 30-foot. Well, it wasn't big enough, so they tore it down. I don't know what that cost. They came in and put a 50-foot in. And I asked, why are we putting this? And I signed all the resolutions and allowed them to do it. And I don't have a problem with it. But why was that done? And I was told because we need 3-phase power to run our LED lights. That just totally blew me away. And I know three-phase power costs more than $27,000 to put that in. Just comments. I hope we don't have any more empty buildings, and I think everybody in here agrees with that. The Miller Lane thing, yes, there's problems. It's going to continue to have problems, but I think with the JEDs, we was represented with taxation without representation. That means the people that lived there, worked there, did not get to vote on it unless they lived in a township. I didn't want to vote for something that makes somebody pay for it that they don't necessarily have to. And I think a lot of these things are gut reactions to personal vendettas of things that's happened in the past, whether it's been issues with something of somebody in the past got their feelings hurt, or somebody got fired or lost their job. We've lost a lot of people here, and I think we just need to move forward, and I hope that this could come to a vote, and I don't know the process, but I hope that it would come to a vote before we would be forced to have something that may not be as good as we already have.
Thank you.
Ben Super at Turtlebrook Court. I'm concerned with your vote to disband the police department, but first I'd like to thank Sheriff Plummer for his pledge to waive most of the hiring process. That's fantastic. The Butler Township Police Department does offer a high-quality service to residents. I'm sure the officers will provide that same high level of service to citizens wherever they're assigned, whether that's in Harrison, Washington Township, the courts, or the jail. The proposed savings of $26,944 is minuscule when compared to the budget as a whole. As Mr. Lang mentioned, we'll still need to pass the police levy this year, continue funding the services, whether it's performed by the Sheriff's Office or our own department. I agree with the proposal to promote the lieutenant up to the chief position, the same as you did with the assistant township administrator. That would save, I'm guessing, $120,000. I do want to say that because of the way that you've handled yourselves, I will not be voting for any future levy if this continues. I know the Sheriff's Department will still have to handle any calls for service in the township. So if this is the way that you want to continue, I myself will not vote for any future levy to fund anything. Thank you.
Ruth Kistler, 7500 Turtleback Drive. At the last meeting, with what transpired, I was just so completely frustrated with what happened and how it happened, more so. But I come in here tonight giving you guys the benefit of the doubt, trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, and ask, my initial thing was to ask, that you say you represent us to listen to us. Well, I think that message has come through loud and clear that that's what everybody wants. I appreciate, Nick, you and others saying you wanted to hear that prior to you voting on something. It's too bad that didn't happen beforehand, but that's the way it is. I guess I'm a little puzzled about something. There's a $400,000 shortage that's been supplemented from the general fund for the police department, correct?
Yeah, it's ranged from $250,000 to $400,000 over the last 5
We still have a shortage that's being supplemented, and the concern that was voiced and or propagated some of this change in the policing in Butler Township was because of that. And that would still exist whether it's local police or through the sheriff's office, correct?
Well, depending upon who you listen to as far as the numbers, again, initially we're saving $27,000. Those are upfront savings. By making the rearrangements, because again, by having our own department, our last administrator spent a good deal of her time dealing with police issues. It is our largest department. Those personnel matters that are being handled by the sheriff's department, there's a whole list, and Erica could get people the list of everything that the sheriff's department is handling. That's not going to be handled by our administration anymore. That's giving us the ability to.
What I'm talking about, Nick, though, is.
That is giving us the ability to eliminate the assistant administrator.
How much is the police budget? Not all these ancillary things that you're talking about. And if we can save money there, that's great. But the police budget itself.
Well, Ruth, the problem is that the deficit is actually occurring in the general fund, which is where the administrator is paid out of. The money that we take money from the general fund and take it over to the police fund to cover for their shortfall. Thereby, it uses carryover from the general fund. So the actual problem, we have a problem in the police fund. Okay, let's say there are two buckets of money. The police fund is running short. We have the general fund. General fund pays for general government. In fact, you can pay for any kind of government out of the general fund. You can pay for policing. Most municipalities, when their municipal income tax comes in from the general fund. They pay for their police out of that. They don't even have special police levies in most cases. Okay, so we have money in the general fund we're running out of. We're spending more than what we're taking in the general fund to cover the costs of the police department.
Okay.
And that money is not money that's coming in year by year. We're draining down the savings that we've accumulated over the years.
Okay. So bottom line, there's a shortage.
Correct.
Wherever it's coming from, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, whatever, there's a shortage. My concern is, and I guess maybe I'm missing something, is that you say, Joe, you in particular have kept bringing up about police levy hasn't passed, in several times or, in many years, and you don't believe it will pass if it's brought up again. So.
I didn't say it would not pass if it was brought up again.
But you implied
I said it is not passed.
You people have spoken because you haven't passed a levy in several years.
Well, you did.
Yes, but I think, again, that's comparing apples and
No,
oranges.
that's
exactly
what we're talking about.
Years ago.
No, that's exactly what we're talking about.
I know, but that was 4 or 5 years ago, Joe. The
And
world is a
you
different
can go
place
back
now.
4 or 5 years, 4 or 5 years, 4 or 5 years. It's the same trend. The only levy that I can remember that was passed maybe was it 2012, and that was a replacement levy to replace the existing levy that was there, and we tried to add 3 mills, and that was turned down. I think you have to go all the way back to almost the beginning of 2000 to find an actual time when actually that was a replacement levy also, and that's actually when we reduced the millage from 5-point-something mills down to the 4.99 mills that it is right now. But it's been very sparse out there getting levies approved.
Again, my point is, why are we negotiating a contract and or commitment for however many years, 4 or 5 years, whatever it is? It's a contract, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That we have to honor. Why are we doing that when we don't have the funds available? We're going to have a shortfall to do that. I mean, that'd be like me going out and buying $1 million home knowing I can't afford it. I mean, why are we doing that at this point?
Well,
Can't
one of the
you
reasons
slow down a little bit? And you say you want to hear what people have to say, but then when we do say it, I'm not changing my mind. This is a political thing. This is we're here to represent you and take care of you. Well, I don't really want that kind of care. I would at least. What I really want, and I think what every one of these people in this room and beyond want, is to be respected and heard. And admit that maybe we rushed into this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Convince us of this, or show us the facts before you just jump in and say, oh, I'm doing the best thing for you, because we're too stupid to figure it out on our own. I mean, that's how I feel, truly how I feel. And I'm getting angry, so I'm just gonna stop.
Ruth,
I will.
thank you. Ruth, if you'll allow me just to follow up on what you had brought up. Okay, we're eliminating an assistant administrator's position, a value of almost $100,000, $27,000 in savings, and the savings in legal fees, we're almost at $175,000. We're more than halfway there on the deficit, and then if you take into account if we have greater business activity with the JEDZ, we may be able to make it up without that.
But the point is, this is not after the fact discussion. This should happen beforehand, not after the fact.
Christine Hawley, 6761 Trailview Drive. The first thing I had is a question. The sheriff said he will take the officers and offer them positions. Does that include our sergeants and the lieutenant also?
Yes, he has agreed to hire everyone that works at the department.
Okay. The second comment I had was about the levy, saying we've not passed levies, whatever. I specifically remember the last levy that was up for the police. I think it was not that far apart as far as votes, 100 and something difference. But I remember people specifically saying, I'm not voting to support the police being over at Miller Lane all the time. And that was everybody's, that I talked to's perception, that Miller Lane was getting all the calls, all the work, and we in the suburban neighborhoods were not seeing police at all. That was since addressed, and people recently have been very happy with the patrols and the work, the response times that they've had from the police. So it's not just that we're anti-police levies. There was a reason that that last levy did not pass. The other thing is I still think there are costs involved in this. We keep saying we're going to save $26,000. I think there are costs in this that haven't even been looked at yet. You know, I don't even know. I assume the sheriff's department is going to have cars that are painted like the sheriff department, not like the Butler Township cars. That, you know, I keep bringing up the issue of the dog and the canine dog. And also the issue that Mike Lang brought up about we have a contract apparently with Huber Heights for dispatch. What if we end that and go with the sheriff's department? Is that going to be easy to do? Are they going to charge us for the length of the contract? Whatever. None of this I've heard talked about. The other point is that I'm with the gentleman who said he's not planning to vote for a levy if it is brought about in this way, with this kind of being quickly brought up, passed, slid past us. We have no input to it. There are a lot of people I've talked to who have said the same thing. I will not vote for that levy. I don't care what happens. We won't vote for it. But I also hear people say there are a lot of us who would work very hard to pass a levy if it was to keep the township police. I've heard that in my neighborhood. I've heard that in different organizations that I belong to. And I really think we could mobilize a whole lot of people to pass a levy if it was to keep our township police.
My name is Betty Korthauer. I'm from 260 Green Acres Drive. I just kind of wanted to echo that because I was just jotting down notes and kind of jotting down the same thing. Let's go back to 2012. You know how many foreclosures there were in the area? I mean, they were everywhere. You know, the economy has changed. This is not 2012. The Miller Lane police issue has been addressed with the tax, the 1% tax over there. I would really like to see our trustees let the finance committee do their diligence and put up a levy on the ballot to fully fund the police department. Let's take advantage of this momentum we have. We have a full house. Let's take advantage of that and work to build our community. What makes a community great? Schools, neighborhoods, police. You know?
Hi,
Leo Hollahan, 6805 Trailview Drive. A lot of things trouble me about what's been going on here recently, but I want to add on to what Mrs. Hawley said. Earlier in the meeting, under proposal number 1, Trustee Brusky said that the $27,000 were not guaranteed savings. I feel like you need to understand every single one of those numbers, have them studied frontwards, backwards, before you ever come to a vote on this. And I agree, there are a lot of costs. It appears to me there are a lot of costs that haven't even been considered. You need to get your ducks in a row.
Russ Stippick, Cricket Lane, and to let you know, I'm for keeping the police department, but I have several questions here. You're going to hire the officers now. What do we have, 10, 9, 10 or so on? What happens in a year from now when shift change comes on, when they bid for shift change?
Those items are being talked about with our union right now.
Okay.
But they'll be able to do it like every other deputy. You bid for the watch you want, so you can work 3 to 11s, days, midnights. Those are what contractually allows you to bid for.
Okay.
Past
areas
practice,
too?
No. Past practice, we have always allowed them to put where they would like to work, which whether they want to be in the court services, Harrison, Jefferson, Washington, and then all the specialized positions. Okay. So they will be able to do that, and then they'll also be able to bid on the many numerous specialized positions that we have.
Okay, so they could stay here, they could not stay. I mean, in the town.
That's correct.
It could be a 50-50 chance of what them staying here is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay. Not beating a dead horse.
In the future.
Oh.
In the future.
In the future, down, yeah.
Right.
Next year, the following years, things like that, 4 years. The $400,000, and I think Nick has tried to explain it, but I know we've eliminated the assistant administrator, so we've saved money there and such, but that didn't come out of the police budget, is what? So it's general fund money. So we're still $400,000 just for the police budget.
Correct, but it's freeing up money in the general fund to cover the police budget, which general fund money can be used to cover the expenses of police because police is general government.
Okay, so we'll still have $400,000 that's missing out of the police budget, no matter if it comes from general fund or wherever.
Correct. The limit of the levy. And here's one thing that's the problem with the current levy that supports the police department is it's tied. What was the last? Was it 2006 it was passed? So it's tied to $2006.
Right.
So let's just say that let's say that the levy were to be replaced. Let's say there's a replacement levy on the ballot for the same millage. The actual amount would the revenue that we would collect would actually go up.
Okay. So, right, and that's what we've had trouble with. Why we haven't been able. We've had a shortfall. Is that? I mean, the fire department, we wouldn't be discussing that because what 50% of your revenue comes from medic calls, things like that. I mean, or you get revenue in, is what I'm saying. You get to supplement some of your budget, and you've done a wonderful job getting the budget under control. I've seen it for the past 5-6 years. You've done a tremendous job. The other thing is, I mean, you guys are set on this. I mean, no matter what anybody says out here, you're set on this, correct? Putting the sheriff's office. Yes, you're set. Yeah. Nick, you're set. I mean, there's no changing your mind, no matter what. I mean, not even if the chance of holding off until November, putting it on the ballot, saying, if the residents pass this levy, we will keep the township police department. That's a question, too.
If you want my position, no. I mean, the answer would be no as far as maintaining the police department. My feeling is that where you're going to get, and when I talk about services, let me be clear, I'm not talking about the individual officer providing services. I'm talking about the overall services that we get, both we'll call them the ancillary services we get, which is the entire list of things that we get from the Sheriff's Department, and the ability to put what I feel is more officers on the street is worth making the change.
So it's not a dollar amount, it's really a
It's
service
both.
issue.
Well, it's both. I mean, let's face it. I mean, when I got here, I looked at the budget, and the first thing I said is, oh, my God, it looks like we're going to have to lay off a third of our police department in a couple of years. And everybody went, well, yeah. And I said, well, aren't we going to do anything about that? Well, we're going to talk about it. I said, hell, it should have been talked about a long time ago. This is not, you want to act like this just happened at the beginning of the year. It didn't happen at the beginning of the year. This has been going on for years. It's just nobody particularly talked about it a whole lot a number of years ago. We are at a critical position. That is why we're making this move. Again, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but it's tough to sit up here and do this. This is not what I call a pleasurable evening for myself. To sit up here and listen to everybody come up here and trash us for what we're doing is difficult. And believe it or not, we're really doing it for what we feel is the betterment of the township and the service delivery we're going to be providing to the citizens of the township. And if you don't mind, I'm speaking. I've about had it. You hear me? I don't care. I am speaking. I listen to you speak, and I expect to be listened
let's
to.
lower our voice. Can I have order, please? Let's lower our voices a second. Hold on.
All I've been trying to do is explain why we're here. That simple. Nothing else. That simple. This is why we're here, and this is why we're making the decision that we made. And I'm sorry that I got pissed off. No, believe it or not, I am.
Anything else?
Okay, then I'm not. I am. You decide what the
All
heck
right,
you want.
let's move this along. Okay. Anything else?
So we're servicing money. I just don't know where we're gonna get that $400,000. We don't either. So we'll be in debt to the sheriff's office is what I mean, if we did it internally by keeping our police department, we could probably handle it somehow.
No, we could not.
We couldn't?
No. There's no easy answer to this.
No, I agree with you there.
I mean, right now there's no answer to this.
There's a very easy answer. You have a huge amount of responses from the community wanting to support the local police department, not only with their voices, but with their hard-earned dollars, because that's what they want to be represented by. This is not some golden solution we've all been waiting for you guys to come along and solve, all right? It's having a plan, being clear about what it is, and rallying the community support to go forward with it.
Then why didn't you do it before, Mike?
Well, actually,
why didn't you rally everybody before? You had
before
years to rally everybody.
Oh.
You had years to solve this problem.
Actually, yeah, Joe.
And what happened? Nothing. Zero. Nada.
Who's laid off police officers before here? I have. Have you? Because you know what? We saw the financial cliff coming and took steps prior to the passage of the Jed Z, after the police levy failed, to be fiscally responsible moving into the future. And then the Jed Z passed, those officers were brought back. But how in the world, since the January, or really November of last year, was there going to be any sort of balance in what this board has been doing to get people behind for one direction? And that, my friend, is solely on you.
Hi, my name's Bonnie Wallace, and I live on Turtle Shell. I have a question. Please forgive me if you think it's rude. But I've been doing a lot of reading on this, some of the trustees, and things that I have read are disturbing. It suggests that this isn't about saving $26,000. This is about promises that have been made to the developer on Miller Lane, because this is what he wants. He wants the sheriff, and these are not my words, this is what I'm reading online. He wants the sheriff. He has made promises to certain gentlemen, and now it's time to pay back. And as a resident of this township, that disturbs me greatly to hear that some of the trustees might be on the wrong side.
That's as far as I'm concerned, it's unequivocally false. That's never happened.
I mean, if anybody, everyone in here can go online and read everything that I've read.
But you can read whatever you want to online. I'm just telling you, ask the question, and I'm telling you that's not true.
Okay, well, I hope that's not true, because
It's not
it
even
really
close to
concerns
true.
me that you don't care enough for the township. You live in the township. You have children that go to Vandalia schools. And I would hope that you do have our best interest in mind, not just what's going to improve your career, make you advance, and whatever your agenda is. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let me
I've
just
been reading that, it's very disturbing.
First of all, wait a minute, Mac. Let me just finish mine, and then you can jump in here. First of all, I've already stated that I have no political career. I'm not running for re-election.
Yes,
So
you made that very clear.
I knew you'd like that. But let me just say.
That's what's disturbing.
I'm sorry, I
that's
can't
what
hear you. I
frightens
can't.
me.
Wait, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear
That's
you.
what frightens me.
Why?
Because you, at the very, when you were being sworn in, that's what you said. You said, I don't give a damn what you people think because I'm not running for re-election, which that alarmed me because then that told me that you're not vested in this community. You don't care. My husband and I, we're going to retire here. We've been here 26 years. We've spent a fortune on our own.
And let me tell you the reason I did it, just to let you know. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm not real happy with Congress. I'm really not happy with the state legislature. I'm not happy with any of them. What is the one thing we talk about? They run, the minute they're in office, they're running for re-election. So they're making political decisions that will get them re-elected. I mean, I've said it over and over again. I know I've heard a number of people talk about it over and over again. I made the comment that I do not want to run for re-election because I don't want to have to make political decisions which will be in my best interest to get re-elected. I am truly going to try, in the time I am here, to make the best decisions I can for everybody in the township. And I am going to guarantee you that this decision is not driven by Miller Lane at all. It is. Is Miller Lane, am I concerned about it? Yes, I am. I'm concerned that we provide police protection, but I'm also concerned that we get police officers out in the neighborhoods. That's the two things I want to make sure. We can't lose Miller Lane. The fact of the matter is I've heard people talk about how dangerous it is there and they don't want to go there anymore. You lose Miller Lane, you're going to lose several $7 million worth of tax revenue. You're still going to need the same number of officers on the street. We just won't have that money to counterbalance that.
And all I'm saying is I'm hoping that these decisions truly are for us.
They are.
Not for.
At least I'll talk for myself.
Not for
They
senior
are.
development.
No, it's not.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I know I'm not supposed to.
Those are my rules. I'm sorry, I got to stick to it. Sorry, one and done. Not going to make my decision change no matter how big your face contorts. Standing by the rules.
You'll like the question.
That's all right. Anyone else? That's not spoken.
I'm usually not up here, but I'm Mike Mills. I live on 3361 Diamondback Drive in the Turtle Creek area. I hear so much talk about, cost, how much we're saving. My concern is about crime itself. Is it going to increase because we lose our local response? Also, what effect does it have on my future property value? Maybe not this year, what about 10 years from now? What about the butt drug problem that we get because of I-70 and I-75, which we've heard about from Chief Cressy when he was here? Is that check going to continue that we can try to reduce that, like they were having some, using the canine service that we could catch people there and kind of degrade their interest of coming to this area. What effect? Drugs are terrible on our schools, on our communities. We see it in Dayton. I don't want to see it here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and bring the hearing of the public to a close.
And I will make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
And I approve.
And I will make a motion to adjourn.
And I approve. Our meeting is adjourned at 8:49 p.m. Thanks for coming.